Hello and welcome back. Please have a look at the first part one of Sufjan Stevens if you haven't had a look at it. I'm not really doing this in date order. I would have liked to, but there's just so many and I'm messing things up a little bit in my own head as to which albums came first. So I just want to show them off, essentially give some guidance. Previously, I looked at some of his earlier material. I would say in terms of recommendations, Seven Swans, Come On Feel the Illinois, and the Michigan's one, which is Greetings from Michigan, the Great Lakes State. This is a trio of early albums that are worth looking at, and of course I really liked one of the Christmas box sets that I would recommend as well. But I did mention previously another album that is different again. It's a concept album. It's certainly how he described it, based on an artist who was on the spectrum, who created the cover art and a lot of the art throughout the booklet as a part of the CD release, but also informed the aesthetics of the concert. Now, I booked to see the concert before actually having bought this album. I just based it on the other albums I'd got. And then I had heard that he had sort of moved on from the sort of Michigan and Illinois sound, certainly moved on from the Seven Swans more folky acoustic sound, and had done a concept album. And I was like, this could be interesting, given that I had Enjoy Your Rabbit, and I knew that he could verge off into electronica quite heavily and quite confrontingly. But of course, this one is a wonderful album. It moves through a lot of different tracks, a lot of different genres in many respects. There's some folky, and that's that Baroque folk elements to it, but it is a beautiful album, and I would say the fourth Sufjan Stevens whole album worth getting, because it's different again. I think, you can always explore them, see if you like them, but Age of Adz, and I thought it was going to be the Age of Adz, but he was quite clear that it's Odds. It's pronounced Odds, A-D-Z. So that was something I kept calling it the Age of Adz until I heard him describe what it was, and the whole concept behind it was sort of honouring this interesting personality within the sort of New York scene who did these amazing artworks but never really got much attention until he passed away. And of course the whole show was really a lot of fun and quite spectacular, and he had a big band behind him too. There was just it was a whole performance, and well worth seeing. Now I'm looking around thinking what to move on to next. Now this one is called the BQE, which is the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, and it's an instrumental album. It's also a bit of a concept album because it has a video, and it's basically the music to accompany the video, which is some sort of homage or I wouldn't even say ironic, but an acknowledgement of the BQE, the Brooklyn Queens Expressway. It's got hula hoopers appear in the video, and it's basically an art piece is best way to describe it. So this is called God, it's so hard to read. Look, you try and read that. I'll leave that to you to read. See if you can read that. If I look at it on the side, it's just simply called the BQE, the original motion picture soundtrack, and I like it. It's kind of got a Philip Glass quality, if you know Philip Glass's music that accompanies movies like Poina Scazzi or Koina Scazzi. It's just this kind of simple musical accompaniment to some very nice footage of, these dances, but also the motorway. So yeah, an interesting one, but not a must have. A little bit like Decalogue. This is me being a completist. This is a piano piece that Sufjan, it's not him playing, but someone else is playing piano pieces that he's created. So I thought, I've got to get that. It's Timo Andres is playing the piano, but it's Sufjan's music that he's composed for him to play. Now I'm looking around, and I guess a significant album and a must-have is Carrie and Lol. This one, now, what's interesting is the person who dismissed him as being Baroque folk and didn't really rate Sufjan went and saw this concert and came away saying it was the best thing he's ever seen. So certainly won over a critic, and I think a lot of fans who kind of missed the Seven Swans era or some tracks from Michigan and Illinois was quite happy to see him return to a bit more of that folky sound with this. I mean, there's still, like I've said, big, expansive numbers, and I guess what's the way to describe them? There's just like this wall of sound quality. Some of these tracks, like 4th of July, is quite a powerful tune. But this is obviously about his parents, Carrie and Lowell, and it's just a beautiful album. So it's another must-have. This one is definitely worth checking out. And I had to get this one, which is B-sides, that didn't make it onto the album. So it's just more tracks and maybe some remixes, actually, demo versions of what went into Carrie and Lol. So on All Delighted People is an EP that I couldn't help myself. All Delighted People came out at some point, and I'm not very good at 2010, but I don't know where in the mix. You can have a look in the description and see just where in the mix this came out. This is a fantastic EP, and even though it's an EP, it's really, really long, so it's like a whole album length, which is very impressive. And it's just, I mean, I just love everything he does. I love Planetarium, which is a bit of a concept album based on the planets and celestial bodies. And it's also a collaborative album, so it's got the names there of who he's working with. I'll just make sure I put that up so that you can see that. But go and check it out. I find it really interesting, kind of all over the place. I think that was one of the criticism of it. I guess when you're working with a lot of different people, there's always the chance that it's going to go in a lot of different directions and not work necessarily, in some people's minds, as a cohesive whole. But for me, it's a fantastic album. I really like it. And I also like Aporia, which is something he did with Lowell, his dad, Lowell Brams. And I think Lowell may be his stepdad. Don't quote me on that. I hate it when I try and give out a fact like that and then I'm not 100% sure what the relationship is. But let's just say it's working with his dad on this one. And I really like it too. It's another interesting album, a little bit like Planetarium. For some critics, it doesn't feel fully formed. It feels like it's experimental to an extent that it's not really worth releasing. I mean, some people feel that albums have to be perfect all the time. And I suppose there's an expectation too on Sufjan, who has had quite an extensive back catalogue of very strong albums, so this one kind of came out of nowhere and some people were a bit critical of it, but I actually really like it. And of course there's no question that this album, this is the Ascension, which is fairly recent, came out during lockdown and stuff, is a fantastic album. This is a must-have. And I mean, this is how prolific he is. And these are just, this one knocks it out of the park too. It's like, I guess, not since Carrie and Lol that there was as good an album from him, some might say, but of course I'm a fan, so I'm liking all of these. The only one I've held criticism for is A Sun Came, and I mean, you know, that's one out of how many I'm showing up here. So yeah, The Ascension, definitely worth checking out. That's fantastic. And I've only got a couple more to show, and one of them I actually bought on vinyl because I didn't think he was going to release it on CD. Convocations, which was a sort of concept that he released in real time online during lockdown. This is a 5 CD set of essentially ambient works, really beautiful ambient works. A mixed bag, but all of them I find really good. Meditation, Lamentation, Revelation, Celebration, Incantation are the titles of each of the 5 albums. And so this is another one worth checking out. Of course, I'm not sure. They were streaming. I wanted to have them. I bought them on vinyl first, then it came out on CD, so I've got it on vinyl and CD. Came out on coloured vinyl. Everyone's seduced by coloured vinyl these days, but I just wanted to make sure I got a physical copy of it. And then the most recent release, A Beginner's Mind. So that's a collaborative work with Angelo D'Augustine. D'Angelo, God, yeah, no, not that guy. Angelo D'Augustine. And so this is something they did, and it's another concept album. I think he does play around with the idea of concept albums. either heavily or quite lightly. This one's a light touch really because it's based on movies, and so they've sort of been during lockdown, periods of lockdown, they sort of went somewhere remote and just watched a lot of movies and based the album on aspects of different movies, classic movies, horror movies, Silence of the Lambs. The cover image of Medusa is from that stop motion animation film that I haven't seen for years, Clash of the Titans. But there's, just if I open it up, you can see from Silence of the Lambs, and there's Sufjan there, so yeah, so this is really the most recent, and it's another really good album. It's fantastic. So I mean, he's just very consistent. I think 9 times out of 10 he knocks it out of the park, and I've just stayed a loyal fan of Sufjan just since I first was introduced to him, and then just kept up. And now I will just keep buying albums. I can't help myself. And I suppose there might be the occasional dud, but I have yet to really find any in the most recent releases. To me, they're all quite exceptional. So, yeah, I hope that you're interested in Sufjan. And if not, if you've never heard of him, definitely check him out. Start with some of those Michigan State ones, Michigan, Illinois, but certainly more recently, the Ascension and Carrie and Lol and A Beginner's Mind are worth checking out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and that's my complete Sufjan collection.